Hey guys, welcome back to The Art of Craftsmanship. My name's Dustin, and today we're going to be doing kind of a fun project. I am an axe junkie. I love axes. I love restoring them. I love finding old ones and making them cool again, putting new handles on. One of the things I really enjoy doing is doing modifications to hatchets or axes that are either past their prime or ones that I can find lots of. So one of the things I've done a bunch of is I do modifications to half hatchets and turn them into kind of a small camping hatchet or a bushcrafting hatchet. So that's what we're going to do today. So with half hatchets, they kind of have a specific purpose. They're designed for roofing. Usually roofers will use them, or construction workers will use them. You have a hammer on one side and then you have your hatchet on the other side and a nail puller. It's just not something that I would use in this form, and I have plenty of them, but it's something that I think they lend themselves really well to being modified to a bushcrafting or a camping hatchet. I'll do a little bit of modifications on it and then rehandle it. And I have this handle that I picked up, which I picked it up for maybe 50 cents or so. It's been cut off, but it can't be used anymore for a single bit, like a full size or even a half it, a normal, like a boy's head or even a full size hatchet head wouldn't fit on the end of this anymore. But these work really well for half hatchets. They have smaller eyes, and so I can trim this down to the size I want and use it for the handle. So we're gonna use this, and this is an old Stanley half hatchet, which I think will work really nice. I like the shape of the hammer and the bit and all. So we'll do some modifications and I'll show you how I do it. First thing we need to do is remove the old handle. So there are some metal step wedges in here that I'll save and reuse. So I'm going to try to get them out first. And then if we can't get the head out after that, I'll just cut the handle off. All right, we'll head over to the wire wheel and clean it up so we can draw out our pattern on this. Here you can see I brought the bottom or the heel of the bit down and back some. So that way then when I'll reprofile the front of this so it's not perfectly flat, it'll curve back and just give a curved face to the bit. As well as trimmed away here. So I'll trim away the nail puller, keep this gentle curve from the bottom of the eye. The other thing that I try to preserve and try to copy when I'm doing these modifications is a lot of times the half hatchets will have these bevels ground into them on the top and bottom. So I think it's a nice kind of aesthetic touch. So obviously the one will still be on the top, so I will recreate that bevel here. After I cut off the nail pull, I'll continue and recreate that bevel along the bottom of the blade. I like having a little bit of hammer pull, so I'll probably leave about maybe a third or so, somewhere around here. Trim it off and redo the bevels on the end. I'll chamfer the end, but I don't like all the back weight on these hatchets when they're designed for camping, so this will remove some of the weight, but still leave you with a little bit of a hammer pole to hammer in tent stakes or, you know, those type of things. If you need a hammer, it works, but this way it gives you most of your weight on the front of the blade, which just kind of helps with the ergonomics of chopping. For these mods, it's much easier just to take your time, and just as you're grinding, all the shaping and grinding, just take your time and keep it cool. That way you don't have to worry about ruining your temper that's already there. So after shaping down this head and kind of getting to the place that I like it, the shape and the bit and all, the bottom cut off, and starting to think about putting a handle on it, I looked at this handle that I was going to use and realized that it wouldn't really work. This eye is bigger. So I kind of looked at my other half hatchet eyes and I realized that these are all kind of a standard size. They're small. They're smaller than a normal hatchet eye, but they're about like a hammer. And then when I looked at this one, it's almost 1/4 of an inch longer. It's a lot bigger eye. And I wasn't really prepared for that. So I started looking through my stash of handles, new handles, old handles, repurposed handles, see if I had something that'll fit. So let me show you guys a little bit about what I have and kind of what I came up with for the next step. So looking through my stuff, and I kind of came across this handle, which is my double bit handle. This came off of the True Temper Vulcan double bit axe that we did a restoration video on. This had some overstrike and was the reason why I cut it off, but I started looking at it and saw that kind of there's enough material at the top to fill in the eye completely. At first I was a little concerned about not having a palm swell because I'd want to shorten this and I wouldn't have any palm swell, but then kind of thinking about my other things I have a tomahawk that doesn't have a palm swell because it has a slip fit, and that works really well. So I kind of think that this is the solution to the problem I've run into. So we're gonna move on, and I'll show you, how I'm gonna convert this down to fit this head. There's a little bit of overhang here where somebody has hit on the top and kind of mushroomed the metal out, so I'll clean that all up with a file. And then the same thing on the bottom. The bottom looks pretty clean, but I want to chamfer this edge a good bit to make sure that when I'm seating this on the handle, it seats down really nice and tight. So I'll use a round chainsaw file to clean up the top and the bottom of this eye. I'm going to go ahead and just start removing the material from the top of the head so it fits in, and then I'll trim it down a little bit to fit once I get a little closer, but I want to leave more wood there now rather than trimming it off and wanting to have it back later. Remember, you can always cut off more wood. You can never put it back on. All right. A trick you can do is take a pencil and just put some of that graphite on the inside of your eye, right on the lip and right on the inside. And then that'll transfer onto your wood, which will then just show up even more. So I'm using basically 3 tools. I started out using my draw knife, and that was to remove a lot of material. You can do kind of delicate work with that as well, but I use that to remove the bulk of the material and clean it up and get a general shape. Then I switched over to this, which is a wood rasp. That's a rough rasp, and this has a flat and a round side. I predominantly use the round side because I can use it to kind of get into the concave here and kind of shape that and also move around. I use the flat sometimes if I'm doing flat areas or doing an edge, but I predominantly use the half round side. And then when I get to a spot where I want to be a little bit more delicate with the wood and I don't want to take off so much material, then I'll use my 4-in-hand, and this has it has a rough and a smooth round and a rough and a smooth flat. So this works really well. Kind of the more smooth rasp. When I get into the areas where I want to be a little more delicate and take off less wood and not worry about the kind of the rough rasp just chipping out. And I will flip back and forth. Once I get to this point, kind of flip back and forth between the rough and the smooth. So we're getting a nice tight fit now. So I'm gonna go ahead and drive it home. So the proper way to hang an axe is hold it upside down and hit from the bottom. And the force from the bottom pushes the axe down the eye, down through. Looks like I'm getting a pretty tight fit all the way around. So I'll do a little bit more fine tuning. And we're getting pretty close. Make sure it's sitting even as well this way. It's pretty good. So I'm just looking down the bit. It's a little bit twisted to the left, so I have to remove a little bit more material to even it out, to bring that straight and parallel along the handle. So I was just seating this upside down, and I kind of heard a split. You can see I got a split here in the back of the eye. Looks solid everywhere else. I'm getting some curls here, but this split. So fortunately there's enough material here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove that and sink it down on further. But that's one of those things, you just have to be careful. I may even chamfer that inner edge a little bit better there because it might just be too sharp. It's just cutting into the wood. So I'll just try to be a little more careful, remove this wood and sink the head down in a little further on the handle. All right, we look good now. We have just tight all the way around, no gaps, a little bit of curl from where the cheeks are coming down, and a nice straight flat across the top of the head. So that's solid. So we're good on the fit up now, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim this off to about where we want it to sit, and then take the head off, cut the kerf, and then send the wedge home. One of the nice things about using a vintage handle like this is that the handle has this beautiful patina on it. So you would think that, you know, cutting away this patina is just gonna look horrible, but you'll see it gets this like really gorgeous fade of color. When I re-oil this, you'll just get this nice fade. So I always try to fade out my scratch marks, all these big rasp marks. I'll just try to smooth them out somewhat, bring in some sandpaper, clean it up. It's a lot harder to clean this up after you have hung the head on it, so just do it beforehand. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the kerf. When you're cutting a kerf, you wanna make sure you set it to the right depth. So you can see here I have the mark of where the bottom of the eye is. You wanna go about, and I have also drew the line for the top of the eye, so you wanna go about 2/3 of the way down. So I'll go ahead and mark that off. Here's my bottom, here's the top, there's the front and back. So I wanna go somewhere around here. So that way, since that and this, that's the kind of the front and back of the eye. I don't wanna go too far below that. You can see that's about maybe a little bit more than 2/3, but I'm not gonna go past that line. So cut down, and that's where I'm gonna sink my wedge down to. You just wanna be really careful about cutting. Make sure you're as close to the middle of the eye as possible. So you just take your time. You can always start sawing even, and then you just kind of tilt your saw back, and you can run a straight line down, tilt back up even. Your saw blade will follow that line. Now I was working on the back side, but you can see the saw blade stayed straight and true down the middle, even though I was just working a line on the back. It fits in really nicely, and I've drawn on the depth, which just shows me how far down my wedge can go before it bottoms out in the eye. So I made a few markings on here just so I know where that is. So if I am hitting it and it goes all the way that deep, I'll know to stop, so I'm not trying to hammer it down and split the handle. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little glue on here. I like to use glue just to keep it in place, and this is just Type Bond 2, which is a wood glue, waterproof wood glue. And we'll go ahead and tap it in, start it up, and then we'll take it over to Anvil and send it home. So you can see here's my pencil line that I marked right on the top when I marked it for the depth. So this is all the way down as far as it can go. Seated really well, and you can just see that I have a lot of mushrooming out. So it's just the action here, the mechanical hold that it's doing inside the head is just really strong, really tight. So I like to just take my time, use a chisel, and just clean up. I'm going to chamfer all the way around. Give a nice chamfer around the eye. When I got this double bit axe, it had these nails in the handle, and I wasn't sure what they were for when I first got it, but then once I measured them, you can see this first nail is right at 6 inches, and the second nail is at 18 inches, so you have 6 inches and then a foot. So these two nails are exactly a foot apart. I'm going to use those for my mark. So I'm going to just put a mark right below this nail, just about an inch below. All right. Yeah, that feels really good. I'm going to go ahead and just sand the bottom a little bit and chamfer this bottom edge. All right, she is sharp, sharp, sharp now. All right, so I have the boiled linseed oil now, and I always use boiled linseed oil to oil my handles, so I'll just go ahead and hit this area that's got the clean wood. And just get this really nice transition between this new wood that's been uncovered and there's just gorgeous patina on this older handle. I just love this transition between the two. All right, so this turned out really nice, and I was kind of excited to use this handle, and the more I think about it as kind of a tomahawk and the straight handle, it just really reminds me of a really good throwing handle. It feels good, and I just think this will just be a really nice throwing hatchet. So I'm gonna actually have some friends over tomorrow night, and we're gonna have a get together and a party. So I'm gonna bring it along and get everybody a chance to throw it and see how she throws, how she sticks. All right, guys, we're here. So got some friends around, some family. We're gonna go ahead and try to give this a shot. It's just really good handle length. It's gonna work really well for kind of a camping hatchet, backpacking hatchet, but I think it's also gonna work well for a throwing hatchet. So let's go ahead and give it a shot, see how it sticks. Raptors. Ah! Tommy boy. Yeah, he likes shining on himself. Look, it's me, it's Tom. Yeah! Second try. Ready? All right, 1, 2, 3, throw. Yes!
I did this, I did that, I did that.
Oh, that was close. Guy, you have the heavy one.
Guy.
Yeah.
Up there?
Clear. Go. Wow. Hey, there he is. Second try. You're not sticking very well. There you go. Finally. Ooh. All right, 1, 2, 3, throw.
Yes! Woo! Woo! Give me some! What? Yeah!
Clink. All right, guys, so this turned out really well. I'm really happy with it. I just really like the way the shape is. I like the head, and it feels really good. I think it's gonna be just a great camping axe, backpacking axe. It's gonna work really well. So it's been fun. We had a good time throwing it. It's maybe not the best thrower, but that's okay. So if you liked the video, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell. It'll let you know when we're putting out more videos. We're really trying to put out more videos this year. Do maybe one a week. That's what we're kind of aiming for. So keep an eye out for those, and follow us on Instagram, because we like to put up pictures of things that I'm working on in the shop, and then sneak peeks of the new videos coming up. So you'll be able to see that and you kind of get a heads up of what we're gonna put in the video. So we hope you enjoyed it. This is a good project, and we'll see you guys on the next one.